Our focus tonight has been on the greatest rate of change. Now, in order for us to accomplish any of these problems, we first need to remember what the greatest rate of change is. The greatest rate of change is the slope that has the largest absolute value. So in order for us to determine which one of these has the greatest rate of change, we need to find the slope for both. So I have two different lines designated by their ordered pairs. And since we have ordered pairs, we're going to use the slope formula to find the slope. Our slope formula, m equals y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1, where my y2 value is -1, minus my y1 value is 0, over my x2 value is 3, minus my x1 value is 6. So we'll clean this up a little bit. We end up with -1 minus 0, which is -1, over 3 minus 6, which is -3. Now I realize that I have a negative over a negative, which is going to create a positive, so this simplifies then to 1/3. Now I got to do the exact same thing for the second ordered pair. Since I already have the equation written up above, we're just going to continue with it. So my y2 is 2 minus my y1, which is also 2, over my x2, which is 12, minus my x1, which is 4, equals 0 divided by 8. And we realize that 0 divided by 8 is simply 0. So we end up with a line that has no slope. Obviously, which one has a greater rate of change? The one with slope or the one with no slope? That's going to be the one with slope. Next problem, number 3. For number 3, we really don't have to do anything to figure out which line is steeper. Remember we talked about in class, in order to consider steepness, another way we can think of it is if I have a line and that line represented a board and we put a marble on the board, from which board is that marble going to roll down the slope faster? That's definitely going to be this one, which means that graph has the greatest rate of change. Number 5, -4/3 x plus 2. Well, this particular problem is already in our slope-intercept form, where our slope is -4/3. So all I really need to do at this point is determine what the slope is for my second set of ordered pairs. So we're looking for our change in our y's over our change in our x's. So our change in our y's is a change of 2. Our change in our x's is also a change of 2. So we end up with m is equal to 2 over 2, which equals 1. Now, don't forget that we're talking about greatest rate of change, which is the absolute value of our slope. Which one of those two terms has a higher absolute value? That's definitely going to end up being the 4/3. On the back side, which was predominantly a review of material that we covered previous week, I just want to look real quickly at a couple of these problems. We are asked to identify the slope, the y-intercept, and the equation. I like to begin with the y-intercept because that's going to be a quick, easy thing for me to find. It intercepts at 0, -1. It's also fairly easy to determine the slope, so I'm going to find a point where it intersects there, and so that would be an increase of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and a run of 1, 2, so my rise of 5, my run of 2. Once we know the slope and the y-intercept, we can write any equation in slope-intercept form. Y equals the slope, 5/2, x, plus -1, or we can go ahead and say -1. Number 10, state the slope and y-intercept. Well, this time we're given an equation and we have to state the slope, y-intercept, and be able to graph it. We can't utilize any equation unless the y is isolated by itself, because our slope-intercept form always has y isolated by itself. Isolated meaning no coefficient other than 1, and its value must be positive. So in order to make this positive, we're going to divide by -1, or you can multiply both sides of the equation by -1. I'll take either option. Y is equal to +4. Well, since y is equal to +4, we know that we're going to have a horizontal line at +4. And since it's a horizontal line, it has no slope, and its y-intercept is also 4, where it intersects the y-axis. Oh, why did I write y? 4. Now, we're going to reference this grid above so that we can talk about a couple of these problems. How do you find the y-intercept on the graph? Well, the y-intercept on the graph is the point where the line crosses the y-axis. So we just need to look and say, oh, this line crosses the y-axis right there at 4. What is slope formula? Well, that's our m is equal to y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. How do you find the x-intercept on the graph? Well, if the y-intercept is where the line intersects the y-axis, the x-intercept must be where the line intersects the x-axis. And problem 10 has no x-intercept. What is slope-intercept form? Slope-intercept form is the only form of an equation that we have been using in class. It's probably one of the most important forms that you will ever use in algebra. Y equals mx plus b. And we're going to continue to use it this coming week, and we will finally introduce another form, probably Thursday or Friday. But this should get you enough information to hopefully make sure that you are successful with completing the activity. Have a good day.